He laughed when I said I was gay. Then he kissed me and said, "Now what?" I thought I ruined everything when I told him. He was my best friend, the one person I could trust with anything. But when the words "I'm gay" came out of my mouth, he laughed. Not cruelly, not to mock me, but in that nervous, stunned way that made my chest tighten. I was ready to leave, to pretend I'd never said anything. But before I could move, he stepped forward, looked me in the eye, and kissed me. And when I pulled away, too shocked to speak, he just smiled and whispered, "Now what?" This is the story of how one confession changed everything, of how a laugh turned into a touch, and how that moment, so small and unexpected, became the start of something I never saw coming. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that speak directly to your heart. Because sometimes the love we're most afraid to admit is the one that's been waiting for us all along. He always made everything look easy. Carter was the kind of guy who walked into a room and somehow became the center of it without trying. Effortless charm, that lazy, crooked smile, the way he'd run a hand through his messy brown hair when he was thinking. It used to drive me crazy, how unaware he was of the effect he had on people, on me. We met in sophomore year of college, paired randomly for a group project neither of us cared about. I showed up with color-coded notes and anxiety. He brought chips and a half-dead laptop. We were opposites, and for some reason it just worked. 3 years later, we were still best friends, still inseparable, still acting like two guys who had the world figured out, even when we didn't. But that night was different. We were at his place, like always. Couch, pizza, some stupid action movie playing in the background. His feet were up on the coffee table. Mine were half tucked under me. I kept glancing at him out of the corner of my eye, my stomach twisting itself into knots. I knew I had to say something. I couldn't keep carrying it around. He reached for the last slice. "You okay?" he asked casually, like he hadn't noticed me spiraling for the past hour. I shrugged. "Yeah, I need to tell you something." His hand froze mid-air. "You didn't get someone pregnant, did you?" He smirked, chewing loudly. I let out a forced laugh, then looked down at my hands. "No, nothing like that." He paused. "Then what is it?" I didn't breathe. I just let the words fall out. "I'm gay." Silence. No music, no chewing, no bad movie sounds in the background. Just silence. I looked up at him, heart racing, throat dry, every muscle in my body tensed like I was bracing for a punch. And then he laughed. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't loud. It was soft, surprised, a little confused, but it felt like a slap anyway. I stood up quickly. "You know what? Forget it. I shouldn't have—" "Wait." He grabbed my wrist. "Dude, no. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just—" I pulled my hand away. "Forget it. I'm gonna go." I made it to the door before he moved. He caught up fast, blocked the way, eyes serious now. "You're not leaving." "I should." "No," he said, softer this time. "You're not leaving like that." I didn't want to look at him, but I did. "I told you something real and you laughed." "I wasn't laughing at you," he said again. "I was just surprised. I didn't expect it." "Well, surprise," I said bitterly. And then, for a second, I saw something change in his eyes. Not pity, not judgment. Something else. Something that scared me more than the silence. He stepped closer. My back was still to the door. His hand moved, slow, unsure, and touched the side of my face. "Carter." "I've thought about it," he said quietly. "Not a lot, but enough." "Thought about what?" He didn't answer with words. He leaned in and kissed me. No build-up, no music swell, just his lips on mine, hesitant and soft and way too real. I froze. My brain screamed 100 things at once, but none of them made it to my mouth. When he pulled back, I stared at him like he'd just flipped my entire world upside down. He looked nervous, really nervous, and then he smiled, small and shaky, and asked, "Now what?" The next day I woke up with his kiss still burning on my lips. I didn't sleep much. I kept replaying it in my head, how close we were, the way his voice had changed just before it happened, the pressure of his hand against my jaw. And then those two stupid words, still ringing louder than anything else. Now what? I had no answer. Not last night. Not now. I figured he'd text me, call me, say something. But by 11 a.m., my phone was still silent. No new messages, no, "Hey, about last night." Not even a meme. And Carter never went a morning without sending me something ridiculous. Around noon, I gave in and texted him, "You okay?" No reply. By 4 p.m., I was a wreck. I wasn't just overthinking. I was unraveling. What if I'd imagined the whole thing? What if it was just some heat-of-the-moment reaction he instantly regretted? What if he kissed me, just to see if he could? At 6:12 p.m., my phone finally buzzed. "Carter. Want to come over? Same movie night thing." Like nothing happened. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. No mention of what he'd done, no explanation, just pizza and movies again. And because I was weak, or maybe just hopeless, I said yes. When I got to his apartment, he was already on the couch, barefoot, hoodie half zipped, that same crooked smile on his face. "Hey," he said, tossing me a soda like usual. "You look like crap. Rough day?" "Not great," I muttered. "Movie will fix that," he grinned. I waited for him to say something, anything, but he didn't. No mention of the kiss, no glance that lingered too long, no nervous tension, nothing. It was like he'd erased it from his memory, expecting me to do the same. Halfway through the movie, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to him. "Are we really not going to talk about it?" He paused the film. "About what?" "You know what." He sighed, rubbed his eyes like he was suddenly exhausted. "Look, I wasn't trying to mess with you. I swear." "Then what was that kiss?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. "Was it a joke? Were you just experimenting?" He looked at me, and for the first time in years of friendship, I couldn't read him. "No, it wasn't a joke." "Then what was it, Carter? Because I've been losing my mind since it happened, and you're just here watching Die Hard like we're 15 again." He ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know, okay? Don't give me that," I said, standing now. "You kissed me. You touched me like it meant something, and now you're pretending it didn't happen." "I'm not pretending," he said, getting up too. "I'm trying to figure out how the hell I'm supposed to feel." "That's not good enough." "I've never felt anything like that before," he said. "And yeah, maybe I freaked out after. I've only ever been with girls. I never thought I'd—" "But you did." Silence. His shoulders dropped. "I kissed you because I wanted to," he finally said, quieter. "And then I panicked. I don't know what it means. I don't know what I am. I just know. When I'm around you, it's different. It's always been different." I stood there, unsure whether I wanted to hug him or run away. Then he looked at me again. Not the confident, joking Carter everyone knew, but the real one, raw, scared, honest. "I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner," he added. "I just didn't want to lose you." I stepped forward slowly. "You won't lose me." He looked relieved, then uncertain again. "Can we start over?" I nodded. "Yeah, but no more pretending." He smiled. "Deal." We sat back down. The movie was still paused, but for once the silence between us didn't hurt. It felt like a beginning, until his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, then quickly turned it over. I caught a name on the screen before it disappeared. A girl's name. One I didn't recognize. He saw me looking, and just like that, the space between us shifted again. I didn't ask about the name on his screen, and he didn't offer an explanation. But it sat between us like smoke, lingering, bitter. The movie kept playing, but I couldn't focus. My thoughts were spiraling. Who was she? Was she part of his confusion? A safe fallback? A cover? He laughed at something on the screen, leaned his arm across the back of the couch like he always did. It brushed my shoulder, barely, but this time I noticed every inch. I noticed the heat, the hesitation, and the fact that he didn't move it. I stayed still, not because I didn't want to pull away, but because I didn't want to. I wanted him to say something, anything. But he just sat there, eyes on the TV, like none of this was new to him. Like kissing your best friend and then texting a girl the next day was a normal way to live. I finally spoke. "Is she your girlfriend?" He blinked, like he hadn't expected the question. Then, "No." "Do you want her to be?" He didn't answer right away. Just tilted his head back and stared at the ceiling like it might give him an answer. "I don't know what I want," he admitted. "That's not fair to me." He nodded, still not looking at me. "I know." His fingers brushed against my arm. Soft, slow, maybe accidental, but not really. I turned toward him. "Carter, I can't keep guessing." He finally looked at me, and something in his expression cracked. "I liked kissing you," he said. "That's it. No build-up, just that." My chest tightened. "And that scares the hell out of me," he added. I swallowed. "Why?" "Because it felt good. Because it felt right. And because if I let myself go there, I don't know if I'll come back." We were close now, too close. He leaned in just a little, like his body was already making a decision his mind hadn't caught up to. I didn't move. I couldn't. He reached out, slow this time, and touched my hand resting on my knee. His thumb traced a slow line over my knuckle. "You make me feel," he said quietly, "like I'm not lost, but also like I'm about to fall off a cliff." I laughed under my breath. Welcome to my world. We stayed like that for a while. No kissing, no dramatic music, just skin on skin, breath on breath, our fingers loosely intertwined. But then, his phone buzzed again. He pulled back. I didn't look at the screen this time. I didn't want to see another name, another reminder that I wasn't the only person he was trying to figure himself out with. "I should probably call it a night," I said, already standing. He stood too. "You don't have to." "I think I do." He nodded slowly, as if trying to convince himself not to stop me. I grabbed my jacket, turned toward the door. He reached for me, just lightly, fingers grazing my wrist. "Wait," he said. "Before you go." I turned, and just like before, he leaned in. But this kiss was different. Slower. Deeper. Like an apology. Like a promise he wasn't ready to speak yet. And when he pulled away, he whispered, "I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." I rested my forehead against his. "Then stop pretending you don't already have me." He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. I pulled away before I lost my resolve and stayed the night again. He didn't stop me this time. I stepped into the hallway, heart pounding, body warm from his touch, and as the door clicked shut behind me, I heard his phone buzz again. This time, I didn't have to see the screen to know he wasn't done with whatever that was, and maybe he wasn't done breaking me either. It was supposed to be just another party, a small get-together at Jordan's place, cheap drinks, people we half knew from college, and that same playlist everyone used for years because no one had the guts to admit they outgrew it. Carter invited me, said it would be chill, said we'd just hang like always. But nothing felt chill that night. Not after the way he kissed me in his apartment just days earlier, not after the way he hadn't messaged since, and definitely not after the way he opened the door and smiled like we weren't both completely messed up inside. "You look good," he said, brushing my shoulder as we stepped inside. "You too," I lied. The room was full of noise, clinking glasses, laughter, that one guy telling a story too loud near the kitchen. Carter knew everyone. He always did. He made his rounds like a politician, charming, relaxed, perfectly at ease. I stood in a corner, nursing my drink, watching him, watching the way he lit up, talking to people, the way he threw his arm around some guy's shoulder like it meant nothing, the way he completely disappeared into the crowd, without once looking back at me. Until he did. One glance, from across the room, and it was like all the noise melted away. He walked over. "Everything okay?" he asked, voice low now. "I guess," I said. "You seem busy." He winced, just slightly. "You know how these things are." "No, I don't." He sighed. "Don't do this now." "Do what?" I asked, heart pounding. "Pretend that we're strangers?" "We're not strangers," he said. "Then why do I feel invisible around you when people are watching?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached out and took my hand, right there in the hallway between the living room and kitchen. It was small, quick. His fingers wrapped around mine like it was nothing. But to me, it was everything. I looked at him. He didn't smile, just nodded slightly, like, "Yeah, I feel it too." Then someone came down the hallway, a tall guy from Carter's gym. I recognized him vaguely. "Yo, Carter," the guy said, grinning. "Didn't know you brought a +1. I froze. Carter pulled his hand away instantly, like it burned, like I was the mistake he almost let someone see. The guy laughed, totally oblivious, and kept walking. But I stood there, hand now empty, throat tightening. Carter avoided my eyes. "I didn't mean," he started. "Yeah," I said. "You did." I pushed past him, straight out onto the balcony. The air was cold and sharp. My heart pounded in my ears. I wanted to scream, to cry, to disappear. A minute later, he followed me. "Don't," I said, not turning around. He stayed quiet behind me. I kept going. "You kissed me. You said you didn't want to lose me. You looked me in the eye and asked to start over. And now? The second someone might notice, I'm back to being your secret." He stepped closer. "It's not like that." "Then what is it, Carter? Because I can't keep doing this halfway." He didn't answer. I turned to face him, eyes burning. "I'm not asking you to put a label on us. I'm not even asking you to figure yourself out overnight. But if you're going to reach for me in private and let go the second someone looks, then don't reach at all." He looked wrecked, guilty, but he didn't try to hold my hand again, and that said everything. "I just need more time," he whispered. I shook my head. "No, you need to want this as much as I do, and if you don't, that's okay. But don't keep me in this gray area, Carter. I've lived there long enough." He opened his mouth, closed it. I waited, but there was nothing left to hear. So I walked back inside, and this time, he didn't follow. I didn't hear from him for 3 days. Not a text, not a missed call, not even a meme to pretend things were normal. I tried to keep my mind busy, stayed late at work, hit the gym for once, even hung out with people I usually avoided. But nothing worked. Everywhere I looked, I saw him. In the bench at the park where we once sat for hours. In the aisle of the corner store where he made dumb jokes about cereal brands. In the hoodie I still hadn't returned, the one that still smelled like his detergent. I told myself I was done, that I had finally let go. But I was lying. To everyone, especially to myself. The truth is, he still lived in my chest. Quiet, but constant. Friday night, I showed up at a small bar downtown to celebrate a friend's birthday. I wasn't in the mood, but I went anyway, trying to prove I was okay. I wasn't. Halfway through the night, I felt someone watching me. I turned, and there he was. Carter, leaning against the wall near the entrance, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes locked on mine. He hadn't shaved. His hair was a little messy. He looked like someone who hadn't slept right in days. He didn't move. He just stood there, watching me. I looked away. He crossed the room slowly, weaving through the crowd. Every step he took made my heart race harder. "Hey," he said, standing just in front of me. I sipped my drink. "Hey." He shifted, nervous. "Can we talk?" I glanced around. "Now?" He nodded. "Yeah, now." We stepped outside. Cold air hit us like a wall. I folded my arms, partly from the wind, partly to keep myself from reaching for him. "I miss you," he said immediately. "I've missed you since the second you walked away." "You let me walk away," I said. "You didn't even try to stop me." "I know," he said, voice breaking. "I thought I could live with the silence, but I can't." I stayed quiet. He looked at me like he was trying to memorize me. "I was scared. I am scared. But being scared without you feels a hell of a lot worse than being honest with you." "Then say it," I said. "Whatever it is, say it." His breath caught, and then, louder than I expected, he said, "I'm in love with you." My heart stopped. People on the sidewalk turned, but he didn't flinch. "I've been trying to fight it," he went on, trying to convince myself it was just a phase or a mistake or some confusing mess in my head, but it's not. It's you. It's always been you. Tears burned in my eyes. I took a shaky breath. "Why now?" "Because the second I saw you tonight," he said, "I realized something. I would rather lose every single person in that room than lose the only person who ever really saw me." I blinked hard, trying not to cry. He stepped closer. "I'm not perfect. I'm still figuring it all out. But I know this." He reached for my hand, and this time, he didn't let go. "I want you," he said. I didn't speak. I just kissed him, right there, under the streetlight, while the world moved around us. And this time, I wasn't afraid. This time, neither of us was hiding. When we finally pulled apart, he smiled at me. Not nervous, not unsure, just full of something real. "Now what?" he whispered, repeating those words from that first kiss. I smiled back, heart steady for the first time in weeks. "Now," I said, "we begin." The next morning we sat at a tiny diner, sharing pancakes in silence. He reached for the syrup with one hand and slid his fingers over mine with the other. Not hiding, not hesitating. And I didn't pull away. For once, we didn't have to say anything. We just were. He smiled at me over his coffee and whispered, "I'm still scared." I nodded. "Me too." But he kept holding my hand, and that was enough. Some love stories don't begin with certainty. They begin in silence, in hesitation, in one person finally being brave enough to say, "I feel something." Maybe that's you. Maybe you've been waiting for someone to choose you fully. No fear, no hiding. And maybe it starts with you choosing yourself first. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs to believe that love is worth the risk. Because sometimes, one kiss, one truth, one moment can change everything.